The Vintage Fashion Expo, and I'm talking to Catherine Manzini, and she is telling me some interesting information about the Chinese market. Now, from what you have told me, it seems as if what you're telling me that the Chinese are in hot pursuit of the items that had been sold by other Chinese generations earlier. Is that roughly
Correct.
right? Now, why is that? Why do they have such a great interest in the items that were sold to Americans a couple decades ago?
Well, the Chinese aren't allowed to have money. They aren't allowed to have cash or spend it in China on anything because there's no land left. There's no housing. They've already spent it on everything they can. So they've accumulated American dollars, and they have discovered by coming to our auctions and to our antique shows that they can buy these precious objects that they exported from the 60s on up through today out of China. Very, very special things like gumps carried, beautiful Qing Dynasty porcelains and ambers and jades and corals. And many of the things that the Chinese are interested in are endangered now. There's no more source for them to come out of nature or craftsmanship. The men that made them, the craftsmen who carved them, are dead. The last great craftsman probably died in the 60s. The carvers that were still alive in the 1800s probably died in the 20s. So the Chinese have driven up the price of these precious objects through auction and through just desire, to the point that last month in the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show, the day that the show opened, coral was selling for $40, $50 a gram for good AAA gem quality, fairly dark color. By the end of the day, it was $150 a gram and sold out.
And what would it have sold for in the 60s?
Coral used to sell for dollars a gram.
Well, and so let's say an item that's sold in the 60s for $100, what would you say that same item would sell for today?
That same item could sell for thousands of dollars today.
Okay, so 10 times as much.
Oh, 10 times as much easily, and sometimes
now,
100 times.
Now, how do you know this, what you're telling me?
Because I've been in the business for 30 years and I've seen things. In the 60s, I worked for an import company in San Francisco.
But did some specific things happen to you recently to make this come to mind?
Well, they're getting more educated about what is their old product.
So it's the young Chinese
The
are
young
becoming...
Chinese, third generation, they might have born here, or they might be from China, but they're in their 20s, 30s, and 40s now. And they have liquid capital, and they want to put it someplace that appreciates in value.
So
they're buying fine art, they're buying gemstones, they're buying coral.
So it is the Chinese Americans and Chinese are both after Chinese items in America, and they're willing to pay 10 times as much as what they cost when they originally came here.
And they're not necessarily just Chinese items, because amber's from the Baltic, coral's from Italy, but they've always loved them, and they want them back. They want the value of this item that's become rare. Amber's very elevated now. It sells for $40 a gram is the base rate for an ordinary strand, up to $100 a gram for a very large, beautiful, perfect piece.
Okay.